Hey everyone, it's Carissa over at Sprinkled with Glitter, and today I have not one, not two, but three fabulous card projects for you that I'm going to be sharing, and they all feature this Savvy Stamps ampersand die. Now, I planned this card out in advance, and I kind of was asking my family for ideas of what we could use, and we came up with a bunch of them, and they're over at my blog. We did come up with some silly ones too, like dog and pony and chips and salsa. But this die is really versatile, and I think this card design is really versatile for a lot of different occasions as well. So I'm making a few of them today to have on hand. Now I'm starting out with this DecoFoil double-sided foam adhesive. Now this is used for foiling, and I'm going to show you how you can use it to make some dimensional foiled embellishments for the front of your card. And I'm just using that ampersand die to run it through with my Big Shot. Now I tried several different ways. I tried using, this cuts beautifully, by the way. I just was having to pop it out. And I tried a few different ways using a shim and stuff, and that flattened it out too much. So the best sandwich that I recommend for cutting this DecoFoil foam adhesive is just your regular Big Shot sandwich. So I have the magnetic cutting platform, and then my cutting plate, the foam, my die, and then my second cutting plate. By the way, this is the exact same foam adhesive you saw me use a couple weeks ago in that hashtag together card to add foam or dimension to little tiny die cuts. It's much easier than cutting down the foam adhesive that you might have. So now that I have all of my ampersands cut, I am going to use my handy dandy Dymo embossing label maker, this old school label maker, to add some of the sentiments. So some of the ones I'm doing today are Mr. and Mrs., Sugar and Spice, and Love and Prayer. So I've typed those all out and embossed them. But I did want to show you as well, if you don't have the Dymo label maker, you can print these sentiments out on your computer and cut them down into strips and get the same sort of look. So just cut them into some banner shapes, and you can do that as an alternative. But today I'm using the Dymo label maker, and for this particular card design I am going to be using a 3x4 piece of acetate or vellum or pattern paper in the middle of these. So this is the We Are Memory Keepers Clearly Bold Acetate. This is a pink polka dot. This is from the 6x6 collection. And then this acetate is also from We Are Memory Keepers Clearly Bold, but you see the scale is a little bit bigger, and that's because it's from the 12x12 collection. So I'm cutting those down to 3 inches by 4 inches. I'm also going to cut down a few pieces of the Essentials by Ellen vellum. This is a 43-pound vellum, and it happens to be my favorite vellum. And so I'm going to get a bunch of these 3x4 pieces prepared. Now, this part I didn't actually end up using, but I thought I would leave it in here because it is a fun option. I'm using an embossing folder from We Are Memory Keepers, and I'm just running this through my Big Shot machine to add a little bit of embossing detail to this vellum. And you can see it really is a fun option. I didn't use it today, but I think I will use it for a cake and candles greeting in the future. So I have that all set aside. And now it's time to go ahead and add my ampersand to this 3x4 piece of acetate. I'm working on the baby shower card first, which is going to say Sugar and Spice. And since this acetate is see-through, I am going to use my grid mat to help me position this. So I've taken off the backer on that double-sided foam adhesive ampersand die cut that I created, and I've placed it onto the acetate. And now I'm going to use some of this Thermo Web DecoFoil, and I have both the gold and the rose gold that I'm going to be using. This is really simple to do. I'm going to remove the protective coating from the front of that ampersand to expose the adhesive that's on these. And then I'm just going to take a little piece of this gold foil, and I'm going to put it pretty side up onto that double-sided foam embellishment that I've created, and I'm going to rub all over it. And this transfers the foil onto that adhesive. Now this product was designed by ThermoWeb to use with the foil, but you saw me use it, like I said, in that previous video. So there's lots of uses, and this is where the magic happens. When you pull that off, you have this gorgeous die cut shape that has foil all over it, and it has dimension, and it's just a really fun embellishment for the front of your card. So now that I have that ampersand foiled and positioned onto my 3x4 piece, I am going to go ahead and add the little sentiments that I created using the Dymo label makers. I've added a little bit of foam adhesive onto the back of that, and I'm positioning it on there using a pair of tweezers because my fingers were getting in the way and I wanted to see where I was positioning these. And you can see that I'm just trimming them down, and this makes my sentiment say sugar and spice. Now you could change the colors of this card and make it more baby boy friendly, and you could put snakes and snails, but I thought sugar and spice sounded a little bit nicer for the blog post, and I tend to like the girl colors a little bit better, the traditional girl colors. So that's why I chose it today. Now I'm using those little pieces of Dymo embossing label kind of to hide the foam adhesive that I'm going to use to attach this piece of acetate to my card front as well. And I've also tucked a couple of those foam adhesive pieces behind that ampersand. So they're all going to be disguised, and that's going to be plenty of adhesive to hold this on to my card front. I did round the corners of that acetate using my 3/8 inch We Are Memory Keepers corner chomper. And I'm just taking a few pieces of pattern paper here. This is a mix of the Tim Holtz foil metallic paper, as well as the Jen Hadfield homemade collection, I believe. It'll be linked in the description below. And I'm just attaching it in the upper right-hand corner of that little acetate piece just to add a little more detail onto this card. Now, I really felt like putting this onto a plain white card base was just a little too plain. So I'm using this Essentials by Ellen white wood grain embossed cardstock. It is beautiful and it has so much texture and adds so much interest to this card. I'm also going to add a little piece of foam adhesive. You saw me point to those little banners there. That was a perfect place to hide some more foam adhesive. And I'm adding that onto that white wood grain cardstock. Now, I am going to add these card fronts on with a little bit of fun foam behind them to create a little more dimension. So I'm adding the Be Creative tape to both sides of this fun foam. This is just regular kids craft foam in white. And I'm removing the backer tape from that Be Creative tape. And I'm going to put this foam piece right behind my card front. Then I can go ahead and flip it over and remove the backer from the other side of that fun foam and attach it onto a card base that I've made using some Simon Says Stamp Fog cardstock. It's cut to 4 1/4 by 11 and scored at 5 1/2 to make a top folding A2 size card. And that completes my first card for today. Now for the second card, I'm going to be using some Copic markers to create a watercolor look on this vellum. Now I shared this technique a couple weeks ago on Jennifer McGuire's blog, and a lot of you seem to like it, and so I'm going to show it again. I'm using 3 different colors of Copic markers, R05, R22, and YR16, and I'll also have those linked in the description below. And you can see I'm just scribbling all over this piece of vellum. I've put down a piece of scratch cardstock so I didn't get any on my surface. And now I am going to take this alcohol swab. Now this is the same just alcohol swabs that you buy in the drugstore. I've linked some below as well, but you can buy these at Target. And I am just dabbing all over the surface of this to create a really fun watercolored look with these Copic markers. The alcohol is, since Copic markers are alcohol based, the alcohol in these swabs will let it move or allow that Copic marker to move around, and it creates just this really beautiful watercolored look. And you'll see it better when I attach it to the card front. So once again, I'm just taking one of these foam adhesive ampersands. I'm removing the backer tape from it and attaching it into the center of my piece of watercolored vellum there. And then I'm going to remove the protective coating from the front. Now this time I'm going to use the rose gold thermo web DecoFoil, and I'm just placing it over the top of that adhesive foam, and I'm rubbing all over it. Make sure you rub around the edges as well. That'll give you a nice clean edge. And then once again, because I love this so much, I had to show you the magic of taking that off. And then I'm left with this beautiful rose gold die cut for the front of my card that has a lot of dimension. Now when I was putting this card together, I really felt like it needed something a little extra. So for this card, I'm taking a piece of this We Are Memory Keepers Shape-In tape. This is the black Shape-In tape. I've cut it into about a 1/2 inch strip here, and I'm just slowly adhering it down to my card front and removing the backer as I go along. And I've cut that at an angle. And once I got this down, I felt like the card needed something a little bit more. So I am taking, this is probably my favorite stamp of all time. This is the Mondo Magnolia from the Essentials by Ellen collection. And I've gone ahead and masked off that piece of shape and tape that I put down using a piece of Post-it tape. And I've stamped that Mondo Magnolia using some VersaFine black onyx ink. And you can see that that leaves me with this gorgeous image that will show through that vellum. Now, just like the card previous, I added some foam adhesive kind of hidden behind those sentiment pieces and that ampersand. And I'm adding this card front to a Simon Says stamp fog card base with some fun foam behind it and that Be Creative tape. And this card I really felt like needed some little shimmer and shine. So I'm just adding a mixture of the Pretty Pink Posh sparkling clear sequins to the front. And I'm just using my multi-matte medium with that little precision tip. Now this final card is a wedding card, and this says Mr. and Mrs. Now you could also customize this and put the couple's names, so like James and Carissa or Diana and Carlos or whatever. And I, of course, have foiled my ampersand just like I did before and attached it to that white polka dot piece of acetate. And behind this piece of acetate, I am going to attach these leaves that I've created using the Clearly Besotted Leafy Accents die. This is just going to add a really soft element behind this piece of acetate and just keep all of this front of this card very wedding looking, all kind of white with just this gold and black accent in the center. So you saw me, I've added my foam adhesive behind the sentiment pieces as well as the ampersand, and then I placed my leafy accents where I wanted them and just pressed that onto them and then lifted them up so that they stuck to that acetate piece where I wanted them. Then I added a second layer of foam adhesive right behind those leaves in the same places, and I'm going to attach it once again to this white wood grain embossed cardstock from Ellen Hudson. And this card, I have to say, is my favorite of the three. It just has this really beautiful white on white look. And just like I did with the previous cards, I'm attaching this to a Simon Says stamp fog card base with that fun foam layer behind to add a little bit more dimension. And what would a wedding card be without just a little more sparkle? So once again, I'm just adding those Pretty Pink Posh sparkling clear sequins with the Ranger Multi-Medium in the matte finish and just using my tweezers to position them. So that completes my 3 card projects for today. All of them have kind of a different look or feel to them, but once again, like I said, this card design is so very versatile, and you could find, I bet, a million sentiments that you could come up with using this ampersand in the middle. As always, I will have links to all the products used in these projects in the description at YouTube, as well as over at my blog at sprinkledwithglitter.com. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe so that you won't miss any of my card making videos. Thanks for stopping by, and until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day.